Good afternoon. It's May 10th, 2022. And today we really had a range there. You can see these overnight highs and lows. Um, but there is some validity that I saw probably about an hour ago to this blue channel down. You can see the midline. It is influencing prices. And you can see up here it's holding. And it's held a couple times. As of 12:22 Pacific time, it's not really relevant though. So yeah, I deleted that channel. Really, you just had to play it like a range today. I mean, that's what it was. You can see they probably trapped a bunch of shorts right here, um, especially when it comes back here, because this looks like range highs, to be honest. When it comes back here and bounces all these shorts, you can see that they just exited. I do think that prices will probably test. Well, we'll see how this midline holds. This also looks like it's the bottom of the channel. I'm trying to do this quick because the past few days it feels like I've been going on rants, but let's get to it. Just a range day. And the overnight, the prices were trending up. So I think 5 o'clock comes in somewhere around here, and you don't get a pullback to the EMA. So, I mean, you could look at this as a second entry long, and it looks like it'd be off a channel, but it just looks so congestive. You could also argue it's like a failed break lower. It's just not close to the EMA. I think you got to be patient. And here, I don't think I would be looking for a short yet right here, but you can see we get a break and a move up to a new high. It's not two legs, but who knows? Maybe the break, maybe the channel was like here, and we get 1-2 legs up to a new high. And that might work off the highs. Yeah, that looks like, unfortunately, I forgot to, let me make this, if we drag this down to the, actually, yeah, that looks very accurate. So you might consider then, if you see that break, leg up, congestion, leg up to a new high, you might take this failure and you might see that very clearly. But this is a first failed second entry long with plenty of room to the downside. I kind of like it just because usually prices will come back and test that opening price pretty quickly. Yeah, so. And I drew the measured move on this channel. This is how I probably would have had it in real time. And if you draw the measured move, it comes down, hits that, and the overshoot leads to the break. And I guess I marked this because it looks like a failed second entry long, but you're going into the lows here, and all these dojis would have me worried. This is all too far from the EMA. First failed second entry right here. I just don't like. It kind of looks like a double bottom, first of all, and that looks like a break. One leg of correction. So I think really what I'd be looking at is this as a double bottom. First entry, failed second entry, boom. Yeah. Come up here, this looks like a second entry long, but it's not. Our signal bar. We come up, so this is a break, one leg, two legs up, and then you get I would say this is a double top, first entry, failed second entry, but that's not off the EMA. Comes down here, first entry, second entry short, great signal bar, take that. Let's take a greater look at this context. We made this a lower high from here, because I'm looking at it now, and I'm like, well, how much context would you have to go short here? And maybe you might not feel so confident, but to me, if you're being patient, there's no failed second entry short setup. This closes clearly below the EMA. I think you should get a scalp out of that. Room to these lows. I think that's a good entry. First entry, failed second entry long. Oh, okay, I'm seeing that this is not even the signal bar, really. This is the signal bar. So this is very aggressive. I just marked it just because of how bearish that bar is, but looks like there's a midline. There's very little room to the lows, so that's aggressive. We get this congestion, and this is a first failed second entry long right here, but these were inside bars, these three dojis, so I couldn't pull the trigger there. I'm sure there's some type of trap right here. There was a few like third entries, so this one, a little, I'm sure some people went short there, and I don't want to mark it. It's not a high probability, very congested, but I understand why some people might have went short there. And that forms this very strong spike and channel down. So when we get a break, I viewed this. It's a little too big. I view this as a double bottom. It looks like a double bottom. And first entry, second entry. So first entry, second entry, this would have gotten you a scalp. Oh, wait, no, it's a 4-tick failure. Okay, so you just got to be careful. But I didn't like it because of this green doji, to be honest. But this kind of looked like a double bottom, too. So that turns out to be a good move. First entry, second entry doesn't set up. If you had a good signal bar there, you might consider it. First entry, second entry. This looks like a repeat pattern of something we saw earlier. I think right here, yeah. But this time it's a better setup. This is a failure, too far from the EMA. Spike, channel down, first entry, second entry. If you had a good signal bar there, I would say take that, even though it looks like congestive. 1, 2, 3, 4. I mean, it looks to me like a second entry short. So, yeah, maybe it probably would be aggressive there anyway, especially because it's off the midline. We just bounced right here. So it'd be aggressive, but if you had a signal bar there, you might consider it. Here we get a first entry, failed second entry. That's clearly off the channel, the trend channel, so you might think about that. We haven't had a close outside of it. But to me, just with how, even though we weren't below the overnight range lows, it just felt like a very strong move down that I wasn't willing to go long in. First entry, failed second entry long that sets up above the EMA. I wouldn't be looking to go long again. So, and I looked at this as one leg down. So, like a first entry, failed second entry, that's off the trend channel as well. Or like you could also look at it as like a double top. We come here and, so this is another one. We saw these third entries like all day, but this one, it ticks one tick lower. So you get a first entry. I looked at this as a second entry off of this trend channel. I think that's a good entry, and you can see a bunch of other people did too. Plus a bunch of longs probably got trapped thinking that perfect, or they were just exiting this perfect signal bar, which, I mean, look, this is, you might consider that. That's a really good signal bar that bounced perfectly off the overnight lows with a lot of room back to the EMA. You might risk that. And if you put your target for all your contracts 70-25, you could get 3 points right there easily. But anyway, I looked at that as a second entry, and then we get this leg of correction. I'm not going long. First entry, failed second entry. I was thinking about it on this bar on my practice account, and it didn't trigger there. When it went up, tested that high, made a matching high, went low. Yeah, it was kind of a little weird when it didn't break lower, but it gets you in, and it's off the trend channel, so I'm willing to take that. Room to the lows of the channel. It takes a minute, and then we get a break, so it's a little nerve-wracking, but it comes right down here. And you actually get a second entry short right here that I didn't see. And so another bounce on the lows. We made a new low this time, but again, there's all this room back to the EMA. So you might consider that. And when it's a double bottom, triple bottom, you can see that at the lows, triple test. That's probably worth it. And you get a first entry failed, second entry right here. Looked like a spike in channel, though we didn't have confirmation, so I like that. First entry, second entry. This is a second entry right here, and it's a higher low. So people might consider that too. But here we get a second entry short. Not that I would take that. It looks like it's like a 9-point bar. Congestion here. We break lower. That fails. I would mark this. I'm going to mark this aggressive, but that looks pretty darn good. I mean, that might be blue on max chart later. We'll see. Get an overshoot, leads to a break. This is actually second entry long. You might take that, man. With all that support right there. First entry, second entry. You might take this. I think this one is a no question lower high. Second consecutive lower high, room back to the EMA. I like that one for sure, but I would even log that second entry. I'm going to mark it aggressive, and then it just rockets up and break, keeps going up, and this is a new low. First entry failed, second entry, and that creates a channel. And you get a second entry long right here off of the EMA, room to the highs, and then it just goes back and forth, and it formed this range that was holding until just now. And what do we have here? Second entry short. Okay, so I like this though because it's a failed second entry long. So I think you can take that for a scalp. We didn't quite have this range yet. So those are the trades I saw. I was able to keep it under 10 minutes, I think. Everyone have a great day. I'll be back tomorrow.